Welcome back to the program. The hashtag is NewsGang. We've got 12 days to go to the end of 2025, and what a year it's been. I remember when we were having a conversation, earlier in the office about certain things that have happened, and you're thinking, wait, that was this year? Mm-hmm. What a year it's been. I want us to just go around the table and focus on maybe some of the events that stood out for each of you and significance, and if there's going to be anything that follows up on that in 2026. And by the way, let me just say in 2027, because I think 2026 is just a campaign year and it's a blitz. So 2026 and 27 are like Siamese twins joined at the hip, literally. So Sam, you get to go first.
When you look at in book publishing, there's a page that you see when you open your book. There's a page you see that has just the title. I think that will be 2026. Yeah. The real book is 2027.
That's right.
I forgot the names. It's been a while, but I think 2025 has been quite an interesting year and very eventful when you have to look at the events that have happened across the entire year. And it started off, I think, the biggest project for the government was the AUC campaigns for the late Raila Odinga. At that time, he was seeking to be the chairperson of the AUC Commission. And what a campaign he led across different capitals in Africa, ending up in Addis Ababa for the particular election. And you must have seen the very many numbers, the delegations that went to Addis for that election, having Kenyans to even think about what is the value of most of the members of parliament, because they're not needed. They were not even campaigning because the vote was by the delegations, the member states within the AU. Eventually ended up the way it did. He lost the election in the third round, and there was a new chairperson elected. But then again, shortly after that, and I think this was one of the most defining moments for the year 2025 and the politics of the country, on that evening, there was a dinner in honor of Raila Odinga in Addis Ababa, and President William Ruto was there, of course, with a delegation from Kenya, and him saying that if the Gen Z uprising gave a rise to the broad-based government, he was talking about every cloud has a silver lining. What a silver lining would the moment that was in Addis be for the country moving forward? And I think that's when the thoughts of bringing together ODM and UDA was born. At that time, the members of ODM had been in cabinet since August. It was about 5-6 months. Thereafter, you saw the former Prime Minister being received in Mombasa with the president and the majority leader Kimani Ichung'wah there welcoming him, and thereafter we had the former Prime Minister saying that he was presented with a document to sign that would have sort of formalized the relationship between UDA and ODM, but he told them that he cannot sign until he consults. He went around this country in different counties consulting with the people there and telling them those guys were bringing a document for me to sign. I told them I must consult. Thereafter, it ended up with an event at the KICC, 7th of March 2025, and we saw the Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, being the one to read out some of the resolutions that had been arrived at. But now when you look back, you hear there were a lot of dynamics that were going on behind the scenes. That the plan was actually different. It was not the 10-point agenda that we talk about today. There was a plot to come up with some coalition or whatever formation for UDA and ODM at the time. But understandably, there was opposition from the side of ODM that they refused to go that direction. But eventually now we have what we have, the 10-point agenda that Raila Odinga had been selling, saying that these are the points that we agreed upon, including compensating protest victims who've been affected over the last few years. But then there was a lot of activity. Months later, you found a lot of discontent among the members of ODM. There's a time they even started to raise questions about the broad-based arrangement. And I think it was at a funeral in Nyanza region, must have been the funeral of Phoebe Asio, that it was then decided that there would be a joint parliamentary group between UDA and ODM. And that happened in Karen, I think at the KCB grounds. And it's at that meeting that the members of parliament from UDA and ODM came face to face with their principals of sorts, that is President Ruto and Raila Odinga. And you may recall that that meeting did not end well because it ended up with a bit of heckling because the president called them out, called the MPs out and called them extortionists, that they were actually arm-twisting members of the executive, saying that they need some oiling for them to pass reports that are in favor of the government, including some bills. After that, the House was quite aggrieved. They spoke on the floor of the National Assembly and I think at the Senate. I remember David Ochieng saying that what have we done for this president? Why would he turn against us? And it was such a serious question of, so who is telling the truth? Is it that extortion does not happen or does it happen? There was a Soko Huru in the Senate that was labeled relating to proposed impeachment against a governor in the country. But then, shortly after that, I mean, you must have seen what transpired, that the country lost Raila Odinga. And the passing of Raila Odinga on the 15th of October appears to have really shifted the politics of the country, because thereafter, you've seen the president sort of owning ODM and owning the narrative within ODM, either by himself or through some major forces within the ODM party. Some have come in and said that Raila Odinga left us in government, we must stick there. Some have said it is until 2027. Others are saying, no, we're not leaving government, it is until 2032. I think John Badi, the CS for National Treasury, was saying that there will be a transition in 2032, not now. And at that time, probably they'll have a candidate, them being ODM party. So I think it's been such an eventful year. Raila Odinga has quite shaped much of it in life and in death. And of course, quite unfortunate to have lost him. But then I think it is that opportunity for Kenyans to decide, because 2026 will be the first full year without Raila Odinga in a very long time. Right. What sort of a country do we really want to have? And moving forward, what should be our political culture? Because when you look at the sort of mannerisms we're seeing in the public sphere, I mean, they leave so little to be deserved or to be desired.
Jay?
I think for me, 2025, just like some say, has been very eventful. And key has been the Gen Zs. I think the year started off with abductions. We reported on a number of them. Just going back to just before the year began, the Raila Odinga asking the president to deal with it, and the president confirming that he will look at the issue, but also asking parents to sort of teach their children good manners. Yeah. So going by what we had witnessed in 2024, I had expected that the Gen Z moment could take over the year. Unfortunately, this abduction kind of dampened their spirits, and they lost their mojo along the way. I think seeing what happened in June of 2025 again, in commemoration of the June 2024, and the kind of violence that was witnessed, the kind of police brutality that was witnessed, sort of dampened their spirits. And that is why, for me, I feel that the young people of this nation ought to have owned 2025 as their year, directing narratives, especially in the political space, so that their voices are heard and every decision that is being made involves them primarily. The other issue for me that was very much alive is the issue around compensating victims of police brutality, because this is a space that the government itself has never spoken about, has never thought of doing anything around it. But when the conversations began around the 10-point agenda that ODM and UDA agreed on, it became a key talking point for the country that for the first time there were thoughts or plans to compensate these victims of police brutality, and the manner in which the courts went about it was very, very significant. Lastly, I think for the first time again, we find ourselves as a nation discussing more and more about the state of our economy, something that has never happened. And I think we give it to the government by continuously developing what would call the instruments or products around our economic sphere that keeps the nation talking. And this has ensured that a number of Kenyans are starting to be more engaged in matters around the economy and how the affairs of this country are run. And that is why we see a lot of questions whenever these issues come up. Kenyans want to ask, to what benefit? Is it going to impact our lives? So the conversation around the state of the economy, around the budget, around the finance bill has become more pronounced. And that I give a lot of credit to the people of this country, because for the first time, people want to know, if we're going to discuss a budget, what are some of the elements in this budget that are going to impact our lives, the taxes that are being raised and the likes of things. So 2025 has been a defining year. The death of Raila Odinga, like some says, was very, very devastating. And ODM for the first time, Kenyan politics for the first time, is trying to chart the way forward without him. I think somebody said something when his body was brought from India, and there's all these near chaos, that the only person who could have stopped such kind of chaos was in the casket.
Yeah. Yeah. Linus?
I think for me, two names. Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, and before him, Albert Omondi Ojwang. Just a reminder on Albert Omondi Ojwang. This is a sad story at a human level, extremely disturbing, that he would be picked while having a meal with his family down in Homa Bay. Brought to Nairobi, he's okay, he makes phone calls and all that. And then the next thing we know is he's dead in police custody. And then the youth come out to protest that. And another one luckily captured on camera. And I say luckily because the things that would have been said about that shooting would have been astonishing. But the cameras captured what really happened.
Yeah.
Because this face mask vendor was actually doing no harm. And I think Boniface Mwangi ran away from a charging policeman and then decided to stop. And that was the greatest mistake. He stopped, his hands had nothing harmful, only the face masks that he was selling. And we all remember that policeman shooting him at point blank range, dead. That was terrible. And I think alongside the story of Baby Pendo that happened a few years ago, way back in 2017, and also the death of Chris Msando, if these things don't prick the conscience of our politics, then we should speak of hell the same way we speak of Singapore, because terrible things happen in this country on the political front. The transition of Raila Odinga, the death of Raila Odinga, the country is still feeling the effect of his absence. Suddenly, our politics is underweight, whether you look at it from the government side or the opposition side. Something adult is missing. There is just something that has changed. And God forbid, moments like June 25th happening again, what would we do? We don't seem to have politicians of that capacity of either controlling your supporters or just making a call on behalf of the country. Lastly, Yvonne, in my view, Tanzania was a big 2025 story. On the 29th of October, Tanzania lost its innocence. You know, growing up, we all had this image of Tanzania as a destination of good. My church side, I really listened to, and I still do, to Tanzanian choirs and music. They are heavenly. And when we were growing up, you know, we thought heaven and Tanzania are close to each other because of the kind of voices that the angelic voices that you could hear. But we didn't nobody would have predicted the level of brutality that Tanzania meted on its own citizens on the 29th of October. That was, can I call it barbaric? Because it was, the level of brutality. And even in the years that they dealt with more difficult issues like the 1964 attempted revolution in Zanzibar, which later the founding father Julius Nyerere spoke of uongozi sio lele mama. It's not a joke. That incident did not see the levels of brutality that we saw in October. And so I think in 2025, Tanzania lost its innocence, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we said in the spirit of maybe finding some time for sport, I mean, all of what you've said is very important. But for those who remember, many, many years ago, when we had just one national broadcaster, the state broadcaster, there used to be a game that we would watch on television, darts. Does everyone remember when they scored? It was
Daudi
game shot.
That Daudi Kanja, the commentary?
Yeah. Exactly. Game shot. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's a good year to close for Kenya's sport. Kenya's David Munywa beaten former World Grand Prix champion in darts in the world today. Yeah. So
Yvonne, you might want to add Chan. Chan was a good
Chan was good. Yeah.
Chan was a
great moment.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
that the stars did well.
Yeah.
We were in the semis.
Yeah, we really did well. So, to Harambee Stars, to David Munywa, who's caused what everybody's saying is the world's biggest upset and huge shock in the world of darts, has beaten world number 18 in an end to a Thursday afternoon session. So well done to him.
For Bonyo, can you translate that in football terms? Is that like a quarter-final?
Yeah, please.
Final. We're good. It's done well. Yes.
You're in the final, but you're beating number 18. I don't understand that.
So, the world ranking number.
These are the results and the schedule. So David Munywa beat Mike Dedeka. Yeah. And this guy, let me just read that for you. He's broken the first leg of the decider. He's produced an astounding bull treble, 20 bullseye, 135 finish to level it. He's Dedeka's disappointing record at the World Championship of the 2024 World Grand Prix winner yet to make it past the last 6 appearances in that game. So this is a good win. It's a huge upset. And so well done to him. So all you need to know is game
shot.
And as we finish with that one, for our final words of 2025. Because Jamila is not here, I will decide today how things go. And I think we will give the first opportunity to the minorities.
Indigenous.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Linus, take it away.